Hello, this is Ethan, and I'm going to take you through my own journey through Dark Souls 3. Now, to start this video, I'd like to take you back to a weird place for me, 2020, which is when I first downloaded the game, Dark Souls 3. Picture this, I was in 7th grade at the time, and my friend comes up to me, we're in school, and he wants me to download this game. I asked him what it was about. He told me it was just a cool game and that it was hard, but he'd love to play it with me. So me at the time, thinking that I was just going to play an easy game with my friend, I downloaded the game for about $60 on my Xbox Marketplace. Now, since I was going into the game without any knowledge of it, I hadn't seen anything on YouTube, I thought it was going to be a pretty easy game until I got to the first boss. Now, the first boss isn't supposed to be that difficult for people who have played the first 2 games of this series, but since I hadn't, I was going into this completely blind, and the first boss destroyed me. The first boss's name was Gundyr, and I played for around an hour, and after I gave up, I uninstalled the game and didn't reinstall it until 5 years later. And that's where the journey would have ended, until my friends started playing Elden Ring, a game with a similar premise made by the same company. They were joking about how hard the final boss was, and I told them to get good. And then they brought up the fact that I couldn't defeat the first boss in Dark Souls 3. So I took this as a challenge to beat the game. Mama didn't raise no quitter. I was going to beat this game, and my friends couldn't make fun of me again after I did. So I reinstalled the game, and I defeated the first boss on my second try. I think because I had done it before and attempted the game, that it gave me an advantage this time, and I understood more about the game. I've also played more video games since I had last played Dark Souls 3, so I was just better at gaming. After I defeated the first boss, Ludex Gundyr, I went on to the second boss, Vord of the Boreal Valley, which was my favorite boss, and I used his boss weapon for most of my playthrough of Dark Souls 3. But before I defeated Vord, I had to go to Seattle on a trip, and this kind of interrupted my gameplay and everything, so when I came back, it was still pretty fresh to me, and it took me around 20 tries to defeat the second boss in the game. With around 5 hours that I had already put into the game, I was hooked. The only thing I could think about when I woke up was Dark Souls 3. When I woke up, I felt like I had to play Dark Souls 3 just so I could prove my friends wrong. I didn't have any more troubles with the game until I got into the final boss. This boss doesn't have a lot of health, but he has probably over 100 moves that you have to memorize to defeat. For the last week of playing the game, this is the screen I saw the most, the "You Died" screen, the most humiliating screen in the game. But with every death, I came closer to actually defeating this game. I got the last boss down to one hit over 5 times. I was done with it. I was done with all the chance that you could get with the final boss, and I was almost going to quit the game. But then I thought of the sunk cost fallacy. I had sunk 2 months and 5 years of this journey just to try to defeat this game to prove my friends wrong. I wasn't going to quit now. Besides, I was too close, and I had spent too much time playing the game to give up. I believe it was Sun Tzu in The Art of War who said, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." I had spent 100 attempts on this boss. I'm going to let this clip speak for itself. It might not be the cleanest, but I won. It's a shame that it didn't show what I said at the end and the Xbox didn't capture it. But I screamed that I had won because I was finally done with this treacherous game. But the game taught me a lot, and it's actually one of my favorite, if not my favorite games. One of the main things I complained about with the game was its dull art style. But I realized after looking up some lore that at the end of Dark Souls 2, the world was supposed to be dying at the start of Dark Souls 3. The Dark World, is supposed to symbolize the death of the game world. At the end of the game, your character relights the fire of the flame in the game, which is supposed to keep the world going until the flame dies and the next protector of the flame has to step up. But at the end of Dark Souls 3, you're supposed to end this age of suffering, which I believe is pretty metaphorical for the suffering I endured from my friends, the jokes that they made about me because I couldn't defeat the first boss and the entirety of the game. I believe it was Sun Tzu who said, all poo-poo times are pee-pee times, but not all pee-pee times are poo-poo times. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Now I'm just going to go on a rant about how much I like this game. When I first started, I thought it was stupid because I couldn't defeat the first boss and I had paid $60 for a game that was too hard. But now that I see with discipline and patience, I can unlock all the good feelings of this game. When you defeat a boss in this game after taking multiple attempts and sometimes multiple hours to defeat the boss, you get a rush, not just of adrenaline, but happiness and a lot of emotions that I couldn't even explain. Even though the artwork was a little bit bland and dark, I still believe the entire map was beautiful, and I really liked the gothic style of the buildings in the map, and the gameplay is absolutely phenomenal because even though it is really hard, every time that you die is just another step forward for you beating the game. In this game, unlike many other games, where you start from something like a prophecy, in this game you start from nothing. Actually, you start defeated because in a previous cycle you were defeated and you were not fit and you're trying to redeem yourself. So you go all the way up from somebody who means absolutely nothing to the world to the reason why the world is still existing. Although the game is very hard, the controls are very rudimentary and simple, which makes it very interesting. At the beginning of my journey in this game, I thought I had wasted $60 on the game. But at the end, it taught me a true lesson that good things are worth working hard for. Even though Dark Souls 3 was a very hard game, very little games made me feel the same way as it did. And even less games made me feel the same sense of accomplishment that Dark Souls 3 did. And ever since I finished the game, I've been trying to get more games like it. I've tried the first game in the series, Dark Souls 1, but it suffers from lack of good bosses, and also it was made a long time ago, so it's of a lot less quality. I also installed Elden Ring, and I got all the way up to the third boss, I believe, but I just couldn't enjoy the open world aspect of the game. The only other game that was my favorite for a long time, which is Minecraft. It's a very simplistic game, but it's a sandbox game and allows you a lot of creativity. And I don't think I could really compare Minecraft and Dark Souls 3 because they're very different games. But Dark Souls 3 is a solo player, and it's the first solo player game that I've actually ever enjoyed playing by myself. This game also taught me to not judge a book by its cover. When I first deleted Dark Souls 3, I had only played an hour of a game and I had only got to basically the tutorial boss. This game has taught me a lot of things, from patience to not judging a book by its cover, which are lessons I had been told in the past but had never really fully grasped until I had gotten done playing Dark Souls 3. And I'd recommend it for anybody who's looking for a new single-player game to play. Trust me, you won't find anything quite like Dark Souls 3, even if you look at the games that are similar or the games that the same company made. You won't really find a game that is just like Dark Souls 3. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'd like you to like and subscribe. This is my first video that's not as short, and I appreciate if you watched it all the way through. Also, shout out to my Professor Barry. What a goat. He made me make this video. Well, he didn't make me. I was going to make something like this anyway, but shout out to my professor.